This is the Online Teaching Best Practices workshop with West LA's Tech Fair. And so I wanted to just go over some main points, and then I'm going to actually go and show you some things in my own course shells that may be useful for you, or maybe you can get some ideas on what to do. Do you currently teach online? Okay, great. So this is going to be, some things may not be as familiar to you, but if you, again, you have any questions, just type right into the chat window. I'm going to go kind of page by page through an online website on what you should be doing and what could be done to make sure that the students have everything they need to be familiar with the site, the best practices on how to do announcements, how to do modules and assignments, because it is quite different than a face-to-face. It's not just taking what you do in a classroom and putting it online. There's actually a lot of changes that you'll have to make when you start teaching online. So we'll go ahead and get started. So with online classes, it's been, people have been teaching online for over 15 years, and there's been a lot of push in the last probably 2 or 3 years with the ideas of MOOCs, and a lot of sort of focus on online classes as well, in that people are starting to look at, are students successful, how does it compare to face-to-face, and there's a lot of literature out there about that topic. And so there's been a lot of also push to try to make online classes more engaging, to make them better for the student learning experience, and to really make sure that they have the same quality that face-to-face. Now there is a caveat. We know that not all face-to-face classes are top-notch. The same thing happens in online classes. But the best thing you can do is just make sure that you're doing everything you can to engage the students and making their learning environment as productive as possible. There's also, from the Department of Education and our accrediting body, the ACCJC, there's a standard that we have to have regular and effective contact. So it's a mandate handed down by the Department of Ed, and it's enforced by the accrediting bodies throughout the country. And basically, regular and effective contact means that you are interacting with your students regularly. So West LA does not, their online program is not a correspondence course. And what I mean by that is, prior to online learning, and it's even in tandem because there are still these courses that exist, there's a thing called correspondence courses. And you would get a packet in the mail, and you would go at your own pace, and you would return your assignments when you would get them done. But it wasn't necessarily paced throughout the semester. You didn't have interaction back and forth with the instructor. And so it's called correspondence because basically you're given everything and then you do everything on your own, and there's not a lot of interaction with the professor. With online learning, there has to be a lot of interaction with the professor. You have to comment on their assignments, you need to send out announcements, you need to post content, so there has to be a lot of back and forth. And you also need to make sure that there's student-to-student contact. When you're teaching a regular class face-to-face, students can talk with one another, you can break them into groups, you can engage in dialogue in the class and have a lot of back and forth. Well, the online learning environment needs to have that same sort of standard with that student-to-student and faculty-to-student contact. So that's a really important thing, and I'm going to go through some different areas in which that can actually happen. So what I do in my classes is I have a Begin Here module, and after I go through these PowerPoint slides and kind of talk about some key points, again, I'm going to go into one of my shells. I have a training shell, and show you what I do to make sure that the student is acquainted with the online learning environment. Now you may have students that can breeze through this module because they've been taking a lot of online classes and they're familiar with the website. But I also have a lot of tutorials for people that are just starting out as well, and that seems to be very helpful because when you log into an online class for the first time, it is a little overwhelming if you're not used to that modality. We also have some returning students that are taking online classes. They're great for accessibility because people who either have disabilities, working mothers, people with a lot of different jobs, or outside obligations, they can't necessarily come to campus regularly. And so online learning is actually allowing people who would otherwise not necessarily be able to take courses to take courses. And so you have a wide breadth of students, people that have had computers their entire lives and people that are just learning computers. And so even though we have little quizzes, are you ready for an online class, there are still people that enroll, particularly in the community college system where we have open access. So the Begin Here module, basically it's just a place where they get to learn about the site. I have a little bit of introduction about me, my research, how I feel about online learning. I have how to use the tools, this is the assessment, this is the announcement, and then information on the different types of assignments. So again, I'll walk you through everything in my module. And I also, it was too big of a file to upload here for you to download, but I do have a PDF of my Begin Here module. And if you have a Dropbox account, or I could share, if you have a Gmail account, I could share that with you, and it has all the content in there. I can also let you into one of my old classes, and it has that information as well. So if you're ETUDES certified, you can get in. If not, I can talk to you about how you become ETUDES certified and how you start teaching online. So the home page is sort of the landing page. So when you click on, and I'm going to be talking about ETUDES in particular because that's the learning management system that we use here at West. And so the home page is basically the landing page, the first thing that the student sees. And again, I'll be showing you some of my sites and how I use this. The home page with ETUDES, you can split it. And so you can have announcements on one side and then content on the other. I don't put, I put content relating to the discipline or just fun things on my home page, but I like to change them at least twice a week. That way students feel that they need to log in to make sure they're seeing everything that I'm giving them. It just encourages them to log in more regularly, and that's something that you want to implement with your classes as well. You can put weekly objectives. You can put some things about, hey, this week we're going to be learning. I usually have something related to what they're going to be learning. Today is National or International Talk Like a Pirate Day. So you'll see on my shell that I actually have a blurb about that and how they can go to Krispy Kreme and get a free donut. So I just have fun things on there as well. That's entirely up to you. It's a sort of a teaching decision on how you want to use that homepage. But for best practices, the best thing that I think you can do is to update it regularly so students know, like when they log in, they see something different. So it looks new and it's not just something that's stale. ETUDES has really updated the way you can create your homepage, and it is so much more user-friendly and so much easier than it used to be now, than it was before. So your introduction to the course, again, this is the Begin Here, the roadmap. It's just so important. I can't stress enough how important it is that you have this module. If you're just starting out teaching, or if you're going to redo your online classes, this should be the thing that you focus on first, I think, because it really gives the students a good introduction, and I think it's one of the most important things that we need to do on your site. There's also the announcements feature. You should send an email. There's functions in ETUDES where you can overwrite the students receiving the message. So students can go in and click that they don't want to receive all the announcements and all the stuff from ETUDES, but as a professor, you have a function that you can override that and make sure they get things. So when it's something that's really important, an announcement, you know, hey, your midterm is due, I overwrite that. I also put out announcements about upcoming assignments, not the standard weekly assignments, because every week in my classes they have a discussion post and a short quiz that's due. But they have a test coming up, so I have that as an announcement. Or a film report or something else, they will have that. I also push out school-related information. I just had an announcement about our writing center. Hey, these are the hours, they have the great classes. And so you can put information on that. I also do interesting news stories, information on holidays. I teach humanities and anthropology. So a lot of times I like to put the history of, say, St. Patrick's Day or Valentine's Day, and I just have a fun little thing in the announcement. And you can also put that on your homepage. Sometimes I use those back and forth interchangeably. But you want to make it interesting and engaging, and you want to make sure that you are keeping your announcement. You don't want to just keep sending and doing that override feature, because students will stop reading the emails that you're sending. So again, with high priority, make sure they really are high priority. If you're just posting, hey, this is the history of St. Patrick's Day, it's probably not high priority, but you may want to do it just to have something interesting for the students to read. Do you have any questions yet? I see someone else has joined the room, so welcome. And again, if you do have any questions, or if I'm talking too quickly or going over your head of what you know about online learning, definitely just type something in the chat room and I can slow down or address any questions that you have that come up. Modules are sort of the lecture content for an online class. So where in class you have a chance to show films, lecture material, modules are how we do it in online learning. Now, you have assigned text, and so what I do with my modules is they complement the information that they're learning in the text. Some professors will do their PowerPoints from their lectures. Some professors will tape their lectures and show a video of their actual lecture. And so there are different ways that you can use modules. But one thing that you should know is that you need to break up long content. There's been actually studies done on this, and students don't like to scroll down the page. They would rather click next and go to the next page. So most of my modules are very short and you really don't have to scroll. So what I've done is I've chunked up the information. I also try to vary text and images, so it's not all just written out text. I try to have shorter paragraphs. I use bullet points because, again, there's been research done on actually what students respond to in an online learning environment, and it's not pages and pages of text to read. And so you want to, that's why I use it to complement what they're reading in the book, but it doesn't repeat what's being read in the book, if that makes sense. And they're accountable for all of the information. So if I have something in the module, there may be a test question on that if it's not in the book. And so I just make sure that they're accountable for everything, including modules and the text. And that's just sort of a decision that I make in how I teach my classes. You can insert short quizzes into the module. So if you have have them read the textbook, make sure you read the chapter before you start this module, have some information in the module, and then on the next screen, and again I'll go into ETUDES and show you how you can do this. When you hit next, there can be a question, and then when you hit next, there can be the answer. And these are the self-check quizzes of making sure that they're understanding and they're learning what you want them to learn. There's another thing that you can do, and that's with TED Ed. And TED Ed is associated with TED Talks, and there's an education division. And this is a really great tool. I don't have time really to go into it in a lot of detail today. But basically what you can do is find any YouTube video. You can pull that into TED Ed, the website, and it's a free service for faculty or if we're teachers. And then you can write questions based on that short video. I use this for my face-to-face and my online classes. You can send the students a link. You can require them to log in for a free account on the TED-Ed. I also give them the option if they don't want to create an account, they can submit the answers to the questions that I have, either via email or turn it in. If it's a face-to-face, they can turn a handwritten page in. And so you have them read or watch this video, and then they answer questions. It can be multiple choice, open-ended, whatever you want. And then that's another assignment that you can use. And you can incorporate that into your modules, and it's been really effective as well. As far as the modules, just again, if you do tons and tons of just text, I'm not sure, based on the literature and even my own experience, how much if students are reading everything. So make it interesting, chunk it up into smaller points, and be really creative. I try to be creative in my modules, and there are times, like I just changed a textbook for a class, so I'm scrambling to get my modules up in time and stuff, and it happens, and it's reality, but I'm still trying to make it really interesting and spend some time on those, and I'll show you that class where I'm pretty much just a couple weeks ahead of the students. So assignments need to be for an online learning environment. You can't just transfer your regular course assignments to online. Well, you can, but it may not be the most effective way of assessing students and what they're learning. You can create interactive assignments. I have discussion boards where they have to respond to 2 other students, and they have to have an initial post, and it encourages discussion, and we'll talk about discussions in a minute as well. I also have them do a digital project. So instead of writing a longer paper, they write a shorter paper, and then they have to do a visual project, and they post it in the discussion so everyone can see it and everyone can benefit from this project. And so they can either do a PowerPoint, a Prezi, or a video. And I've had some really, really creative assignments turned in that way. What this also does is give them the tools to learn how to create a presentation or do a short video and upload it to YouTube. So it's kind of also getting them to have more sort of technology skills that they're definitely going to need in the sort of real world, if you allow that term. Create opportunities for them to share information with each other and create assignments that make sense for online learning. Now, I have a weekly quiz. It's 5 multiple choice questions based on the readings in the modules, and it's basically just a checkup to make sure that they're reading. It's a timed quiz, and so it's working out really well. But I also have tests per se, and those are all essays, either short essays, 1 or 2 paragraphs, or longer essays, 3 to 5 paragraphs. And I call them tests, but they're really not tests, because in everything that you're doing online, students can use their book. There's no way around that. So I use these essays as a way to make sure that they have an opportunity to tell me what they know and that they're really learning. Yes, it's more in grading. In online learning environments, you can have multiple choice and true-false auto-graded, and if the computer does it, easy peasy, you're done. But with the essays, because I teach humanities and anthropology, and it's going to vary by discipline, I know what the students know. And yes, there's the issue of plagiarism. I take a sentence out of every question and Google it. It takes extra time, but then I know if they're plagiarizing, and you can tell. I have a book on the Greek myths for a class that I'm teaching, and I know what's in that book. And if they start going on and on and on about Prometheus that I know is not covered in the book, I know they pretty much have plagiarized from the internet. So there are different ways that you can do assignments. And although I call them tests, they're really not tests like you have in class. Closed book, closed note. You don't have that same opportunity online. So you really need to think about how you want to hold students accountable and what you want to do in your online class. It may be very different from your face-to-face classes, and mine are, in how I assess them. I have film reports, and what I do is I have links to documentaries from Discovery Channel or History Channel or even on YouTube. A lot of people will post entire documentaries. I use a great film series called Engineering Empire. And so I'll put a link in there, and then I also tell them that if they want to go out on their own, they can look for, a documentary that's 45 minutes long, but it needs to be one that's credible, and if they aren't sure, then just to send me the link, and I can approve it for them. And so they watch a film in my online classes. So it's another way for me to push out content in a different modality. And so they have to watch this film and then write up a summary and then their opinion of it. And so that I do in class and face-to-face, but I figured out a way to, or in class and online, but I figured out a way to do it for online learning by sending them links. Many years ago, since I've been teaching online for several years, or many years, I would just say, find a video, and I didn't give them the proper tools of, okay, here are some links if you just want to use these, or you can go outside. So you kind of learn as you go as well. Just sort of something so that you know, the first time you teach an online class, it's going to be bad. Just know that, and it's not a criticism against you, but you will learn things from that first experience, even face-to-face. The first time you teach a particular class, it's not the best job you're ever going to do in that class. And so the same thing is online. So just be kind to yourself and know that you're learning while the students are learning, and that's okay. Do your best, front load everything, try to have as much in there and interesting content that you can, and ask your students for feedback. I do that all the time. I can send out a survey. Hey, what did you think of that video that I put on the list if you watched it? What do you think of this module? I've redone it. Do you think it's okay? And they'll let you know. And so definitely, say, hey, I need your feedback. What do you think of this, so I know what to do in the future? And they're usually very, they're not mean about it. They give you some good criticism and some good constructive advice. So use your students so you can better your classes in the future as well. Again, I've talked about this, to test or not to test, and how you want to do that. In ETUDES, you can have timed tests. Now, if you have students that have disabilities or need extended time, you can change the time just for those students, which is really nice. You can have multiple attempts. I know some professors that have weekly quizzes, and the students have 2 times to take the test. And there's an honor code box that you can check in ETUDES as well, and it just says, I will not cheat, and they can check the box. But the ways to avoid cheating is if you do multiple choice tests, or any test really, you can prevent backtracking. So they have to complete the test in one sitting. They can't backtrack, so they can't look at a question and skip it and then go back. And so there are things that you can do to sort of help avoid the cheating, but because it's online and you're not there when they're taking the test, it is difficult to really monitor that and make sure it's not happening. So again, that's why I do the essays for the larger point exams, is that I feel that I can curb the cheating a little more. I've had students obviously cheated because they turned in the same answers, they both get a 0. And I talk to them about plagiarism. I've had students that copy and paste in their essays from the internet, they get a 0. I talk about plagiarism. And then I have a whole thing on plagiarism, and they have to do plagiarism, like sort of a contract with me in that Begin Here module as well. So there are things that we can do. Nothing is fail-safe. Some online instructors will have exams proctored on campus. I don't do that because if you have a student who's either out of state or say in the military, you have to find somewhere for them to go and take the test and proctor the test. And it gets, pretty convoluted. It can be done. People do it all the time. I've taken a different route where I've really gone to the essays for those high point exams. But again, it also depends on the discipline that you're teaching. If you're teaching math, essays aren't going to work. And so you just kind of have to figure that out, what's going to work best for you. Another thing is put objectives. Like, chapter objectives. What are you supposed to learn? And I'll show you what I've done. And they can be effective. They can let the students know what they're doing and why they're doing it. And you can tie the assessments to course objectives, and even the SLOs. So for, this week, in my archaeology class, I wanted them to understand the scientific method, or last week. And so that's one of the objectives, is to understand the scientific method and how it applies to archaeology. And so and then they'll be quizzed, and that's just to make sure that they're understanding these objectives. And then their tests will make sure that they've comprehended what I wanted them to by putting it into the objectives. And so there are definitely ways of doing this. Now, if you have a textbook, some textbooks in the front of the chapter, they'll have chapter objectives. When I've used those types of books, I've just, put them right into that part of the module. The books that I'm using now don't, so I have to create my own. And if you're going to write objectives, hopefully you're familiar with Bloom's taxonomy. And so basically these are verbs and words that you can use in writing your objectives. And you should try to go to the higher level assessment. And, I have my things right here. So there's definitions, knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. And so you want to go more towards application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. And you can Google Bloom's taxonomy. There's a great list of verbs, and I have it hanging in front of my computer because when I need to write objectives, I just pull words from that list. And it works out really well. And so it, and I always want to go to the higher levels of learning, not just have them understand or remember, but have them apply, analyze, evaluate, create, as you see on this slide here. And so I really try to push on those higher levels of learning as well. Okay, so that concludes sort of the slide portion. Do you have any questions? Okay, so I'm going to go over to ETUDES on the screen. I can remember. And I'm going to log into my account, and I'm going to show you some things. Sorry, I'm trying to type and talk at the same time. I'm not always good at that. Show you some things in my site that I think could be useful for you. And again, I am not perfect in what I'm doing, but taking Quality Matters, I've worked really hard on. I'm trying to take my courses to the next level, and I'm still learning things all the time. I go to tons of conferences. I take tons of workshops like what you're doing this morning, and I'm always trying to update and implement new things into my class. So one thing that I learned from Jim Martini, and he also does trainings at West, is to do these short little videos of me. So basically what that does is it humanizes the course. It lets the students know there's a human behind what they're seeing on the screen. If you haven't seen ETUDES before, this is what it looks like. All these up here are the courses and different things that I have right now. You can also, there's a new thing called a dashboard. And so all of my courses are listed here on the dashboard. And in this window here within CCC Confer, things are kind of a little bit wonky. It doesn't show up exactly like it does on your browser, but it's pretty close. And these are actually spread out differently when you open it on your browser. But basically this tells me that in my Humanities 1 course that's live right now, I have one student who's there. I don't have any private messages. I have a few new discussions, and there are 4 students that haven't logged in the last 7 days. So this is just, I can go in and I can quickly see what's going on in all of my sites. I'm going to go over to my development site. And again, the home page isn't showing up exactly how it does, because when you open it in your browser, half of the screen is my home page, and half of it will have announcements. And right now the announcements have been pushed and the calendar has been pushed down just because we're within the CCC confirm shell. But this is my first announcement that the students see in the class. And it says, in order to get started with the course, follow these instructions. So right off the bat, when they go into the course, they see this. They know that they need to go first to the syllabus tab and then to the modules tab. And that's going to mirror what I have over here. You don't need to log in to ETUDES right now. Can you see the page that I'm talking about? Hopefully you can. Because I have the web sharing open right now. Let me do this another way. I will just try to share my desktop. Can you see it now? Okay, good. Sorry about that. Okay, so let me go back. So this is the development site that I have, and I'm going to go to the home page. And so hopefully you can see there's a video here of me, and then here's that announcement I was talking about. So you can see everything now, right? Okay, so this is the first announcement that they see. And it says, you know, welcome to Humanities 1. Here's your syllabus tab. So this is going to mirror what they're going to see over here. And there's a modules tab, and this is what they need to do. I also have a video, and this is what I was talking about, of me that just has a little bit of an intro. So if they go to the syllabus tab, they can click here, and they can view their syllabus. And so I have PDF, and they can view it, and they can download it right here. I also then tell them to go to the modules tab, and I have to click the view because I'm the instructor. And here's my Begin Here module that I was talking about. So if they click the Begin Here, it says Welcome to Humanities 1, and then this is what I was talking about next. So this is the table of contents, and then they can just click Next. And here I have a little video for them to watch, and it's me just talking and saying welcome to. And I just tell them what they're going to be learning and introduce the class. In the next module, and I basically what I do, my husband will film these, and if we're at a museum or somewhere, I'm like, hey, take out your iPhone, and he just films them on his iPhone, and then I upload them to my YouTube account, and then I embed them right into the ETUDES. And once you get using ETUDES, there's all these tutorials, and you can learn how to do that as well. So here is my how to navigate ETUDES. Most of my videos are either 30 seconds or a minute because I have to closed caption them myself. And although YouTube has gotten better with the functionality of closed captioning, I still have to go through and make sure that everything is correct. So if you keep your videos short, it takes a lot less time. And then students actually aren't going to get bored watching some lengthy video of you just chatting. Now, again, some people will video their lectures and then they have to closed caption them. But I just like keeping everything short. So here I have a video about navigating ETUDES. And your ETUDES site, whether you're taking a traditional class or an online class, we'll be using ETUDES. I wanted to navigate you a little. And basically, I just use my iPad to go through all the different things on ETUDES. I then also have an explanation of what all of these tools over here are. And then a screenshot with some text over it so they understand what their screen looks like. And I think that's been really helpful for the students to have that much detail and to take the time to create this sort of how to navigate. Again, if a student has already taken an online class, they can just flow through this part of the Begin Here module. Again, I tell them, remind them to go to the syllabus, make sure that they're reading the syllabus. And then I have this, little meet your professor, some information about me and the dig that I was on in Egypt. I tell them about the Writing Center, the Tutoring Center, so student services. Little thing about email etiquette, although I don't necessarily think that most of them read this because I still get text speech and I don't know what class they're in, so I don't know how to respond to them, but I do put it in there. I talk to them about assignments. No late assignments will be accepted past the final acceptance date. I have them save all of their assignments as a PDF. So this is a document explaining how to do that in the different programs. I explain, tests and quizzes. The discussion board and the rubric. I also have a video explaining the rubric because some students find it to be a little complicated, so I want to make sure that they definitely understand it. And what they should be expected to do on the first week. In the first week, I just have them do an introductory discussion and a plagiarism test because I'm getting so many adds and drops that I've learned that they're going to they miss a lot of content. So for me, on my online classes, the first week is kind of easy week. Learn the site, learn how to navigate, give me an introduction. This is the plagiarism module, so I have them take their plagiarism test and they have to submit their certificate. And then this was a few years ago about course repeatability, and I've left it in there because I'm still not sure if students really understand this policy. And then I have a couple extra documents. This is students' rights and responsibilities, what I expect of them and what they expect of me. And this is just a fun translation guide that I put on there about what the students say it says and what we hear because we get all these excuses. Basically just trying to inform them that they need to be honest in communicating. And it's kind of fun. And then the next module is a writing guide because I teach classes where there's a lot of writing. And so there are all these, different things. So the first couple modules are really begin here, get acquainted with the site, and this is what I'm going to expect of you. And I think that I haven't always had this, and so it's been really, I think, beneficial for the students as well. I'm going to take you into my archaeology class. This is the live class that I'm teaching now. And today is Talk Like a Pirate Day, so I put up this on the home page here. Recent announcement, so I put here something about the Writing Center. And then these are all of the recent announcements. If you see, I try to post every couple of days, put out another announcement. I'll go into my modules, and again, this is sort of your lecture material. And then I have Begin Here. And then my Chapter 1 module. This is for the archaeology class. And I start by the learning objectives, what I want them to learn. And again, I created these using that Bloom's taxonomy, created those myself. And again, I don't put up a PowerPoint like what I would use in class or something. I put up information that's going to be complementary to what they're reading. So here's a video I found on YouTube about being an archaeologist. In the book, there are bolded words, and so I wanted to make sure that they understood that when they see bolded words, they should look them up in the glossary in the back. And so I just listed the words to expect in Chapter 1, just sort of as an introduction of how the book works. Here's just an overview of archaeology, just a short PowerPoint that I have, and I've put that in there so they can read through it. If you have some software like Camtasia, or Adobe has a program that you can use, you can do voiceovers over your PowerPoints. And I have not done that yet. Every summer I think it's going to be my TV project, but I have I'm full-time at LA Valley College. I'm the DE coordinator, and so my summers are spent working a lot towards that job as opposed to having tons of time if I was just faculty to do all these courses. But eventually I'm going to get Camtasia and voice over my PowerPoint. And again, those all have to be captioned. So it's a really, it's an involved process, but I think it's going to be a lot richer of an experience for the student. And then Chapter 2 module. So this is the second one. I always start with learning objectives. Here's the scientific method, and then I have a funny little video from Monty Python. I like my personality to come through in my modules, and I have, I like my sense of humor, so I try to put that forth so they can actually see that there's a human in the class, and and then a little bit of content on how archaeology is related to anthropology, a short thing, and I always quote where I get this from. I cite my sources. A history of archaeology, and just an article of why sometimes there's an A and sometimes there's not. And so that's basically what I've done with my modules in this site here, the live site. I'll go back to the development site. Do you have any questions? Is it overwhelming, too much information? Hopefully not. Nancy's typing, so I'll wait just a second. Okay, great, thank you. So let's go to, let me go back here to my discussion. And my introductory discussion, what I do is I just have a little bit of a welcome, and I have my question, and then I create the first post. I answer it myself. I know it seems weird, but that's what I like to do, just sort of put an example. And so for me, the introduction, like this is that first week, I want them to know how to upload an image into the discussion board or a video. So I ask them to upload an image of what to expect to learn about this class, or they can put in a YouTube video. And I get some interesting things. I also ask them just a little bit sort of icebreakers. Where's the most interesting place that you've been? If you could go anywhere in the world, where would it be? What's the most interesting thing about you? So I was in the catacombs in Paris. This is an archaeology class, so they, bones seemed appropriate. And so I have a little bit of information there. And so the student responses, I get interesting things, but they're putting an image. And so basically the introduction is for me, it serves as an icebreaker. It lets me know their expectations of the class, what they think they're going to be learning about. And then and then they can learn how to upload a video or an image. My Chapter 1 discussion, and I break my students into groups of about 10. So there's not 40 students all posting on the same stream, because after the first 5 or 6, they're all going to be saying the same things. And so what I've learned is that by putting them into groups, and they all have the same question, they're just in groups and they respond to with each other within that little group, and I just go by alphabetical order. The comments are much more robust and they're much richer than people just starting to say the same thing over and over. So here I have my question, and I post the rubric. And here is somebody posting, and then she's responding to someone else's post. And they have to respond to 2 other students for full credit, and they have to respond the first time by Friday for full credit, and they have to spread their responses out instead of just, at 11:59 on Sunday night when it's due, posting everything. And then I have what I expect in their post, and this is how many points they can get. It adds up to 20 if they get full points. And so that's just a way to do the discussion. I recommend using a rubric. If I go to my roster here, and I go to groups, you can see that I have these groups broken up by the alphabet, and these are the sizes of the group. I had a couple adds here in the G through K and a drop here, so that's why the numbers are a little bit off, but I'm just going to leave it. It should be fine. Okay. As far as the, let me go back over to the development site here. So this is, I have just dumped a whole bunch of content in here for training. But this is my film report assignment. And so they have to watch a film and then answer some questions. And there are links to different shows. So then it's worth 25 points. And you can have them do it in line where they type right in the box, or just upload attachments. And in my classes, I have them do a PDF because of the way I use a PDF markup software for grading. And in the exam, you see these are all essays because I want them to, this is a Women in Humanities class, and so I want them to really comment on what they've read and what they've looked at. I've posted in the module the documentary, and so I have a question on the module, I have a question on, you know, what they actually read. They read Mary Wollstonecraft, A Vindication of the Rights of Women, and so I use both module and reading out, you know, their books that they're supposed to be reading for these kinds of questions, and I think that holds them accountable. And after the first quiz, then they realize, oh wait, I need to do both, because they have to have information that's from both sources. That way they know that the modules we're not getting tested, we don't have to worry about that. So that's been sort of a good way to keep them accountable as well. The syllabus, let me go back over to this site. My syllabus is very colorful, as you see here. And so even for my face-to-face classes, my syllabus is all electronic. I don't hand out paper copies anymore. I have a picture of the textbook on there so they know which version. I also say you need the listed edition for this class. If you don't care if they can use an earlier version, state that. But this way there should be no confusion. And so the syllabus is quite colorful, and I do workshops on how to create this kind of a syllabus as well. And so this is online, and then a lot of times if it's online, it's a PDF, they'll just save it. They don't have to print it out. Let me go back to ETUDES here. Again, the modules, you can see all the different chapters, and announcements. Now, why some of these are red is that I've transferred everything from my old archaeology class into this class, and so I'm not going to use all of these announcements, but they're there if I want to. The ones in green are the ones that excuse me, I've released. Another thing that you can do is, let me go to private messages here, is you can look at this activity meter, and I have 4 students that have not visited the site in 7 days. So if you look on my private messages, another thing that's really good to do is to email your students and say, I've seen that you haven't logged into the class in a week, please log in and complete the next assignments and modules. And I just kind of give them a little bit of a nudge. I'll do this twice, and if I hear nothing from them and they still don't log in, I'm going to, you know, like if it's been over 14 days and I've sent out these messages, I'm going to drop them from the class, because like a traditional class face-to-face, if they miss so much, you drop them. The same as it applies in online, and I usually have a 2-week period, and I've sent out messages and I've heard nothing and they haven't logged in, then I know that they're not participating, and I will drop them from the class. So that's just another thing that you can do. Again, it takes a lot more effort and energy from you, but I think it's definitely worth it. Okay, let's see. What else should I? Oh, these over here, again, when you get ETUDES certified, if you're not, or when you are on your site, you can have links to outside websites as well. And so these are, they can link to these different resources in the website. Trying to get back to the CCC first. Okay. Let me get back to the content. Okay. Do you have any questions? I know it's a lot of information, and I just want to kind of put out some best practices, what you can do to better your online class, or if you're going to start teaching online, things to sort of have an awareness of, to sort of bring the level of your courses up a little bit and make them a little more engaging and student learning friendly. Okay, so how do you become certified? What you need to do, and you can contact the DE office. Eric Aishon is great to work with, so is Rita Shemwell at West. And you take the ETUDES 101 course, and let me get you the link. Okay, so there's the link. So you sign up for the course, and it's a 2-week, and it's totally online training. And I actually think that West is going to be having a course, and you can check with the DE office if they're going to be offering one live. If you take it online, it's through Foothill College, and the cost is $75. And so, but then you'll be ETUDES certified, and you will be certified to teach online. In our district, you have to have taken a class to become certified in order to teach online. And so by doing that, you can then go to your department and say, I can teach online. How they give out online courses versus face-to-face is you have to work with your chair, who sometimes has to work with the dean on how that's all going to work out. But by becoming certified, you could teach on ETUDES platform for any college. So if you're adjunct, it's a good thing if you teach at other colleges that are also using the ETUDES learning management system. Some colleges use Moodle, some colleges use Blackboard. So there are different learning management systems, and in order to teach on different ones, you have to be certified in those different systems as well. Any other questions? Nancy's typing, so I'll wait just a second. I'm going to type my email in here, and you can contact me if you want any of those resources that I was talking about, or if you want to be in contact with me if you had a question, or if you get into your shell once you get certified, or if you're already certified and you can't remember how to do something, you can always email me. Let me see, hold on just a second. Let me check to see when I have one scheduled. I just have to go into my browser. And it's probably going to be at LA Valley College because that's my home campus. I teach and train at West as well. So I'm just trying to check. Okay, Monday, I'll just type it in here, December 1st, and it's at LA Valley. I'll be doing the syllabus workshop, and it's from 1 to 2 p.m. I may be doing one online, like this sort of a webinar as well, but I need to get that scheduled. So again, if you email me and you're interested, I can send you all the workshops that I'm going to be doing using this modality if that's easier than driving up to West or to LA Valley if you're at West. So again, just email me and tell me that you want me to send you when I'm doing different workshops, because I do some on making documents accessible, on using the system CCC Confer, so I do a lot of different workshops. Okay, any other questions? Okay, well,